Story update videos are back. Hello, pretty storytellers. Welcome to Pretty Stories, and I am wearing my skull butterfly shirt, which is like the most, this is what I like to call my Halloween shirt. So you know that we're going to be talking more about Mythos of the Haunted Hayride, since it's like the current story that I'm working on, the primary current story. I mean, since if you haven't seen my post, I am working on the Glass Runner book coloring book, which will take a shorter time since like it's a pretty short picture book. But with Mythos of the Haunted Hayride, that is pretty much well my primary project. Well, I'm already up to over 200 pages, and I'm at chapter 8, and I'm going to go on chapter 9 soon. Let me hear. I'm not sure well. I am going to edit this bit out in either moments, but like since I'm working on both the Mythos of the Haunted Hayride novel and the Glass on the Boat coloring book, so since Glass on the Boat once again is targeted towards younger audience, I'm not like if you're asking me, I'm not sure if like working on something as for a younger audience as Glass on the Boat or something with heavy mature themes as Mythos of the Haunted Hayride would be like a huge whiplash of all things to work on with both, but I'm just proud to be working with both at the same time. And yeah, it's not really a total whiplash to work on something as for a younger audience or something with heavy mature themes, but I still have fun either way with both. So I plan for this to be a pretty short video, since I'm already planning to do like I'm already planning to I've already like halfway done sort of like over an hour long with my family video movie club, like comparing the demo changes to what is currently today, since I'm working on 4 stories. Fun fact, I'm working on 4 current stories: Glass Bottom Bow, Mythos of the Haunted Hayride, Family Video Movie Club, and Nyctophilia, The Origin of a Spectress. So the thing about all of my current stories is that I usually like to target them towards all ages. Even though I always say that Glass Bottom Boat is targeted more towards a younger audience, since my major is in early childhood development and learning, so I sort of use that as an advantage to develop Glass Bottom Boat as something that is mainly targeted towards a younger audience. It's still for all ages to enjoy. And the reason why I made that choice is to make the morals and messages that I put in each of my stories to be widespread, to like any age range can learn from these morals that are presented in each of them, since like I work so hard to give out mature themes. Like there's mature themes in all of them, which I'm gonna get to soon. So all of the emotional moments and all of the maturity and lessons that I put in each of my stories, then it's gonna be widespread towards any age range. And typically, not always, usually, since I haven't really worked on anything that goes above a PG rating for I don't know how long. But usually when I make sort of adult projects or like PG-13 stuff, then I'm basing this off of the demo, Mythos of the Haunted Hayride. So the Devil's Haunted Hayride, which you're gonna see later, is so ironic that the demo Devil's Haunted Hayride that I made back in 2020, when I decided to rate that PG-13 due to the mentioning of the devil back then, or demons, devil stuff, like I cut all of that out in the reboot. Then like another thing that I try to do to mark a PG-13 rating, like forcing the Devil's Haunted Hayride back then to have a PG-13 rating, is to also add in 4 swear words, mostly by Jared. Like 4 unnecessary swear words that Jared would say. If you watch when I reacted to that back in 2023. So by cutting out all the demon stuff and the unnecessary swear words, that was when I decided to make Mythos of the Haunted Hayride, which is now going to be for all ages. Also, I thought, So long story short, when it comes to Mythos of the Haunted Hayride, I personally feel like that I went all out with this story. Like I went all out with I already mentioned before that compared to the rest of my stories, Mythos is the most plot driven one out of the bunch, but that doesn't mean that it still have its character-driven moments, which the character-driven moments are just as essential as the rest of the stories. With the perfect balance of comedy and heartwarming moments, like it's definitely balances there, and it's not like Godfather Boat where the heartwarming stuff, like the heartwarming moments goes below the comedy, and it's not like Family Video Movie Club where the comedy goes above the heartwarming stuff. Since I've already I'm so far making a quiz, which probably just one more question since I'm always a perfectionist when it comes to this quiz. So yeah, it took months. I've started I started this quiz for months, so I don't know if I'm gonna be doing it or not. I mean, I'm still gonna when I'm gonna publish the quiz, since I'm kind of a bit of a perfectionist when it comes to quiz making right now. So it'll probably take more months since I started way before January. But you'll see in the quiz though, you have to choose which story you're most anticipated on, since once again, Mythos have that perfect balance of comedy and heartwarming moments. So it's just me going all out on this one. And with me going all out for Mythos, I've also went all out when it comes to the mature themes that I added in the story, which of course there's always gonna be mature themes within all of my stories. Even Glass on the Boat, despite it being aimed towards a younger audience, I've learned from my race and racism related course back in my last semester for my early childhood degree. I learned that even younger children need to be taught about race related items, which is why I don't know when I'm gonna publish this on Patreon or not, but I've written a short story on the Cape Coast Castle scene, and my race related teacher loved it. And one of the most I know this is getting off topic, but she liked the moment between Wyatt and Empathy. And even though this was mainly supposed to be a Wyatt and Zazy moment, I just I even wrote it in the reflection that this was my first time out of the many years I worked on Glass on the Boat, so since 2021, that I written an interaction for Wyatt and Empathy, and she already liked their dynamic. It was the first ever time that I written a scene for Wyatt and Empathy, and she liked to point it out. So it was I just need to point that out since I love that moment. So once again, when it comes to the mature themes I present in most of my stories, which you're gonna see that I will usually skip necrophilia a lot during this video, since that is so far the most underdeveloped one out of the bunch. So yeah, I'm gonna be skipping necrophilia a lot, but that too, before I skipped it, it does present a mature theme about grief. That's all I'm gonna say. I'm not gonna spoil anything. I'm gonna leave it off like that. But once again, Glass on the Boat, of course, it features, the Cape Coast Castle scene, and also neurodiversity, but that's not really much. I mean, it's all about acceptance when it comes to neurodiversity. And also a bit of violence if you count Nico having his arm bit off. I mean, not really bit off, just having Empathy bite Nico's arm, which is based on a real life event. Why am I doing this? This is so unscripted. So yeah, if you count that as a bit of violence, then yeah, that's Glad on the Boat. And when it comes to Family Video Movie Club, the main mature themes with that is, of course, the family dynamics, which, this is so out of order since, I mentioned Karina's character before I started this one, and I'm probably going to get to this one much more quicker than the family video one, but I already mentioned that it was hinted that Karina might be living in an abusive household, and Charlie lives in an adopted situation. Mike has a single parent, Alec has a polyamorous family, and Violet has a staff family. And it's also hinted that her real father, she doesn't know yet, since she's pretty much gotten like brainwashed some sort, that her real father, not her stepfather, her real father that mysteriously disappeared, forced her to live out a perfectly normal lifestyle, and like forces her to be perfect and normal before he left, and it sort of brainwashed her mentality into thinking that she needs to be this perfect and normal person. So all of that fits into the mature themes. So once again, when it came to Mythos of the Haunted Hayride, in compared to the mature themes that are presented in the rest of my stories, which is like, I'm not gonna technically say minuscule, but like it's pretty like 1 point, like, or just you can jot down like each one, then like it can still be for all ages, even with the few mature themes. But when it came to Mythos of the Haunted Hayride, it's like I went all out and overboard with all of the mature themes. Not all, but just I sort of went overboard when it came to like each backstory having, like, there's way too many to count. I already made a viewer discretion note, which I feel like it's the only story of mine that I need to add in a viewer discretion for all, if all ages are gonna see this or read this, that they need to be aware of some of the violence and gore in the story, along with other stuff that are added, such as stillbirths and miscarriages, along with, I'm trying to remember since I just saw it. Oh, a failed druggy attempt. Like, both of these are spoilers, but I mean, like, just say a failed druggy attempt. Like, you don't know who's getting drugged or why it, like, the failed, like, or who's like I try my hardest when giving, like, or. And the one thing about the violence and gore that mainly made me concerned about if this should really give a PG, if Mythos should really get a PG rating or be for all ages, since like it's not like in Glass on Boat where empathy just bites his arm and it's just that. But with Mythos of the Haunted Hayride, there is like I'm not gonna, like, I'm trying my hardest not to spoil all of the violence, but one but let's just say that I've already written 2 scenes where a character uses a knife to slit someone in the throat or stab themselves in the eye and then in the stomach. Like, I'm trying my hardest not to spoil all the violence and gore, but let's just say a person uses a knife to like slit, like literally just cut off someone, or either with homicide or suicide, just like there's literally scenes like this. I've already written 2 scenes that are like this when it came to warning people about what the type of violence they have, or even one moment where, once again, trying my hardest not to spoil anything, like leaving all of the scenes ambiguous, that one of the characters, like one of their tasks in the Haunted Hayride is to cut out a heart from a dead body. Like, they literally had to like turn the dead body in the back and then just until they can reach out the dead body's heart and try to place it on either be a skeleton or someone that doesn't have a heart. Like, that's the type of violence that this story would have. And once again, without spoiling, just by the way, you can sort of tell by the character descriptions that I'm currently still working on, and also the quiz description of these characters. You can probably, like, if you can get your best matches on which of these mature themes are featured in each of the characters and their backstories, since like, oh yeah, there's also gonna be like some he also reminded me that there's gonna be like literal nightmare fuel scenes, like both figuratively and literally, given the nightmare visions. Where personally, as I'm writing, Esma and Amel has the worst nightmare visions out of them all, which is given since they have some of the most traumatic backstories, which I'm not gonna spoil, but like it's hinted in the character descriptions, such as whatever happened to Amel's future baby sister, that Angeline, that he was so excited to have as a toddler, but then like it's still left as a mystery of whatever happened to her, but you can probably tell by the warning labels that I given that it's pretty much spoiled, sort of. Like, it's no longer like a shocking surprise. I mean, it can still be a shocking surprise if I change it, but other than that, like, it's sort of like given the warning labels I have to add when it comes to all of the mature themes that I have that are added in Mythos of the Haunted Hayride, that it's not really left to be a mystery now that I have to have it be all ages with warning signs and all that things. But like even outside all of the horrors and the emotional tugging moments, there are still gonna be like some like what's it called? Like there's still gonna be like a bit of adult humor here and there, or some explicit scenes, if I like to put it like that. Such as with Jared's parents, for example, since I don't know if I already mentioned this before, but it was really hard for me to write scenes for that without going above the PG rating. Despite the one little adult joke that I sneaked in there when I think it was like something like "You're never too late for me" or something like that, and the mom was like, "Oh, true that." Like even with that little adult humor to sneak in there, like it was still really hard for me to write scenes for Jared's parents without going above the rating, since like their entire character is them being dumb and neglectful towards their children by making out all the time. And even like some of the mischievous scenes about Jared mentioning that he wouldn't be surprised if his parents are gonna have another child by the way they're going at it. Like, it's just that sneaky adult humor with Jared's parents that made it so hard for it not to be above the PG-13 rating. And with another Jared moment where he tries to mock a seizure due to how bright Quinto Queso's clothes are, which, once again, I'm not sure if I'm going to be keeping that scene or if it's way too offensive or not. But it's Jared, so... Also, I've already mentioned this in the AI challenge that that it's been mentioned, like, just drawing dog humor, that Piggly thing, one of the animatronics that's supposed to represent the fast stereotype. He is a cannibal. Like, his cannibalism is mocked throughout, like, mostly through Jared, since, once again, he's Jared. But, like, when writing the Quinto Queso scenes, I'm not sure if I should be using the word cannibalism in a story that is supposed to be for all ages. Since it did mention that Piggly does love to eat pork and bacon and anything that is made out of pig. Like, his name is Piggly and he loves to eat pork-related products. So, just, like, purposely dark humor in, like, both an in-universe children's show and what is supposed to be an all-ages novel. And there's like many more of explicit moments, like there's many horror, emotional, and explicit moments all together that, like, I haven't mentioned them all since, once again, I don't want to give out way too many spoilers. So, of course, the explicit moment, like, even between the main couples, which, speaking of the main couples or the main relationships, which, once again, I am not going to spoil who those characters are, I'm not going to spoil who gets together, just... Like, all I'm gonna mention is that, like, even those couples are included in the explicit moments. And one of the main couples, since by myself, since, like, this isn't the AI challenge, like, by myself when I was doing AI, like, it was pretty recently, like, probably, like, a couple of weeks ago, I tried to use AI to, like, give out short summaries of each of the 5 main couples. Like, so far in each of my stories, I have 5 main... Well, technically, one of them is in the crossover sequel. I'm not... Like, the only couple that I am not gonna spoil who gets together is Karina and Mike from Fail Video Movie Club, since they were a couple from the start, but the rest of them, just a slow burn tactic, I should say. So, I'm gonna be using AI to rank them from healthiest to least healthiest or unhealthiest, or... like, slightly toxic, but not so much. Like, just in comparison to the rest of the couples, the main couple in most of my stories. Like, just making that from the healthiest to the most least healthiest. And guess what? One of the most unhealthiest out of the rest of the main couples in my story was one of the main couples from Mythos of the Haunted Hayride. I'm not gonna spoil who it is. Just one of the main couples from Mythos of the Haunted Hayride. Like, once you get to see who, like, since there are two main couples of Mythos of the Haunted Hayride, and once it gets revealed who are the two main couples are, then you can probably already tell out of the two which one got typecasted as the most unhealthiest out of the rest of them. But on the bright side, the other main couple from Mythos of the Haunted Hayride got second place on the healthy scale, right after first place, which is, to no surprise, Karina and Mike from Family Video Movie Club. I don't know if it's because they're the only couple that was introduced as a couple that started off as a couple or not, but yeah, it's no surprise that Karina and Mike got first place, with the other main couple from Mythos of the Haunted Hayride getting second place. I'm not gonna spoil the other positions, but the other main couple from Mythos of the Haunted Hayride got dead last. So that's pretty concerning. So I still find the irony that when back in 2020, when I was trying to work on the demo, which is the Devil's Haunted Hayride, I was forcing myself to go into a more PG-13 route, despite it being like super forced with all the, like, so much has changed. So with all the unnecessary swear words. But then now when I'm watching Mythos of the Haunted Hayride, I am trying my best to go to more of a PG route. But no matter what I do, I always resort to violence and gore and other mature topics that are probably, like, you have to put in trigger warnings for each bullet point. And by how much I feel as if this story has grown as a whole, what I meant to say is that when I try to force in mature topics in the Devil's Haunted Hayride to make it to a PG-13 rating, I mean, then I was mainly triggering towards it being all about the setting, such as, of course, the demon-related stuff, and not so much in the characters. But now in the current Mythos of the Haunted Hayride, where I am unintentionally having much more adult themes and moments like that without it being forced, then it mainly directs on the characters and, like, it mainly how the character develops and their backstories and just those kind of character-driven moments. So it's no longer about a Haunted Hayride with characters. It's about the character. Okay, let me rephrase that. The Devil's Haunted Hayride used to center just around the Haunted Hayride, featuring the characters just as a subgenre, and by having there be like standardized with Quillis, or Amari, what her name was, being just this typically bubbly, annoying, childish person who addresses that she's 16, but she acts like she's 6, and you could already know that I couldn't stand her. I couldn't stand Amari back then. That's why I changed her completely. And Asma, despite me saying that she is my favorite, like, it's still hard to choose favorite in the current Mythos. But in the Devil's Haunted Hayride, Asma is just like that typical, like, boring and emotionless older sister. Despite her little fun moments here and there, she's still a one-note character. Jared was just this typical joke with, like, only just a teasing heart for Amari with their forced ship teasing. And also back when he was an abusive older brother to his little brother, which is totally subverted as of today. And then there was Joey Jacob, which is just a typical little kid who acts as if he's a Mary Sue. Joey, or what his name was, Jacob back then. So it was just mainly centered around not really just the mature themes inside them, but of course the demons and, like, HELL related things that are in the Haunted Hayride. That was the main focus. But now in Mythos of the Haunted Hayride, it's about the characters featuring the Haunted Hayride given that it's now coming of age and all the characters are now fleshed out into having to experience these mature themes both inside and outside of the Haunted Hayride. So it went from just being all about the Haunted Hayride featuring the characters to being all about the characters featuring the Haunted Hayride, and that's how much I felt as if this story has grown. But whether any of the mature moments will get past the censors or not, since I mean, like, we can, like, you already know how bad American censors can be and how bad the PG rating, like, PG is not the same as it was in the past. So maybe if I extort this story to Canada, since we all know how outlandish Canadian media can be, especially Canadian cartoons and shows back into the 2000s. Like, most of them were not supposed to target those kids, but they did anyways with American censor. So maybe it's given that I'm part Canadian, maybe I could pass this as a Canadian show and have it be for all ages. Just a thought though. Whether it will be for all ages or receive a much more higher rating, either or, I would just be glad to have Mythos of the Haunted Hayride be published and for everyone to absorb these mature themes and how these characters grow and develop from them. And I hope you like this video and stay tuned into more story updates, and I still hope that whether or not it'll be for all audiences or not, just I hope either audience will enjoy Mythos of the Haunted Hayride. And I hope that someday you'll get to enjoy them too.